Last two problems, but they're getting tougher. Pero with God's grace, kaya namin to. So in this item we have, ganito yung item. Sa item number 39, it says here we have, what's the item? Negative 4 minus 3x, i-distribute yung negative, 3x, 4x plus 9, plus 1 plus 9. That one is already tough to solve for the inverse. And if I were to double check to verify their inverses, I think I don't have to. Para what you all this, hindi ka ako mahirapan. And I think in this problem, you don't need to solve for the inverse of the function. You have to solve for the inverse. But it's very hard because there's so many steps. But remember, this one implies PEMDAS rule. So what we do first, if we were to do the PEMDAS, di ba remember there's so many parentheses? So we start with the inner parentheses first. Ano yun nasa pinaka-inner? Ito, di ba? Ito yung pinaka-inner. And then we multiply this first. And then whatever answer you get, you add it by 9. Di ba? And then that's your answer. Then 3 times x times, work on the next inner, which is 3 times x, di ba? 3 times x is right here. Then multiplied by the answer, 3 times whatever value the x is, and whatever answer you get here, then add 1. Di ba? And then whatever answer you get here, it's being subtracted from by negative 4. So negative 4 minus whatever answer you get here plus 9. So that's how you solve for the inverse of a function. But so that's how you solve in PEMDAS way. But if I were to do it in reverse, this could be a bit tough. Pero good news, I think we can apply a little bit of algebra skills to help us along the way. So let's work. So let me write this on paper para malaman namin yung sagot. So diba remember the item here is P of x is equivalent to negative 4 brackets 3x 4x plus 9 plus 1 plus 9. So of course the first thing that we need to do is to interchange that with y, and then we type negative 4 3x then 4x plus 9 plus 1 in brackets plus 9. Then interchange that with x. So negative 4 3y 4y plus 9 plus 1 plus 9. Diba? Now we do the math. First, we need to do something to distribute. So I know this one implies distribution, the distribution method. So we can distribute 3y and 4y together. So therefore, doing that, so this will give you 3y times 4y gives you 12. 12y squared. And 3y times 9, 27y. So therefore, we now have negative 4 minus 12y squared minus plus 27y. Last one plus 9. Diba? So now it's written like this. The parenthesis is gone, so we don't need to include it anymore. So now we have a quadratic equation. Now we need to distribute the negative. So to distribute the negative, we have to make everything in the polynomial negative. So therefore, this is going to be negative 4 minus 12y squared minus 27y minus 1 plus 9. Then combining like terms. We combine like terms. Negative 4, negative 1, positive 1, and 9. This becomes 5, and that becomes 12y squared minus 27y plus 4. Negative 1 plus 9 is 8. 8 minus 4 is 4. Diba? And that's x. Now we solve for the what? Now we solve for x. Now this is a quadratic equation. So this may be hard for you to solve. But our goal is to get one of the y's. So how do we get one of the y's? We need to factor. Very good. I-factor out yung y's dito sa ano yun. Or you can just subtract 4 on both sides. Just like that. Normally, you can still solve for this equation. So you subtract and then you get 12y squared minus 27y. We need to get y all by itself. Diba? So how do we factor out the y? We divide both sides by the GCF. And the GCF is 3y. So 12y divided by 3y and negative 27 divided by 3y. That's supposed to be, what's the answer? The y's here cancel and we're just left with 4y. And then this becomes 9. Right? So we reduce this into lowest terms. Diba? So x minus 4 is equivalent to 4y minus 9. Now we need to bring y to the other side of the 9 to one side of the equation. So bring the y there, we have x minus 4 plus 9 equals 4y. Doing that will give you negative, positive 5. Then dividing both sides by 4. So that's the inverse of the function. The inverse of this function is x plus 5 divided by 4. And that's the inverse of this function. Now to double check, of course, I would rather plug this back to verify if this were true. But I think this might take a lot of time, especially if we have to write a lot of complex numbers. So I think we'll just stop up to there lang. Basta what is important, that's the inverse of the function. But if you know the right answer, please leave it in the comments below. And just instruct me, okay? Because I may not be good at this skill. Although I know it has to do something with inverse algebraic operations. But if you have any corrections or concerns regarding about this, don't hesitate to comment on my channel. And then just tell me about it, okay? I'm free to read your comments and I've been expecting from you guys. So subscribe to my channel if you want to find out what's the right answer. Or if you have any clarifications or questions regarding about my math. Okay? So that's number 9. This may be the inverse function, although it may not seem right. Although if I were to try, of course, the 4's cancel. Then we have x plus 5 minus y. Then we just factor this, multiplying by the x's, and then yun nga. This could be a bit tough to solve for the answer. So never mind about that. So I'm very sorry talaga if I can't find the right answer. Next, let's go to number 10. For number 10, we have negative 3 times 2x minus 5 times x squared minus 400 divided by 4x minus 10 plus 40 minus 10x. This is a tough problem, but I know we can simplify one of the x's to make it even more simpler. And I think for this one, we don't need to check anymore because it's so hard to check. So we just need to find the inverse. So how do we find the inverse? Ganito yung plan. First, let's write down the equation. Q of x equals y, negative 3, 2x minus 5, x squared minus 400. Yan. Interchange all the y's to x's. And then we have negative 3, 2y minus 5, y squared minus 400 for x. Alright? Now, I think the first thing we need to do is to simply factor. To make life easier, we need to factor this out. So how do we factor? Let's factor out first the y squared and 400. Actually, if I were to look at this, hey, this might seem sus. You know why? Because we can write that as a difference of 2 squares. So we can write that as the difference of 2 squares. Pwede naman to. Diba remember what did I tell you about? If you have x squared minus 25, that's x times plus 5 and x minus 5. Diba? So we have x is equivalent to negative 3, 2y minus 5. Yan, diba? So I know it should be something like this. We can write that as a difference of 2 squares. Diba? Y times y is y squared. 20 times y is 20y. Negative 20 times y, negative 20y. Subtract, give you 0. And you get 400, diba? And then all divide by 4y minus 10 plus 40 minus 10y. Actually, you can factor out the 4y minus 10. Make it into 2y minus 5 na lang. So, 2 times 2y minus 5. And did you know in this situation, that's the good news. The good news is we can simply factor out the 2y minus 5, which just leaves us with our x is equivalent to negative 3 times y minus 20 plus y plus 20 divided by 2 2 plus 40, which give minus 10y. Diba? We can exchange this to make it 42. Right? And then another good news is this. Ang negative 3 at saka yung 42 ay pwede mag-cancel. So therefore, this becomes 14 and this becomes negative 1. So therefore, what you're just left na lang is x is equivalent to negative y minus 20, y plus 20, divided by 14 minus 10y. Diba? So that's how you're gonna solve. And now we can simply, hey, another good news. Did you know we can also distribute the negative to the factor? So this will become negative x is equivalent to negative y plus 20 y plus 20 divided by 14 minus 10y. Now, how do we solve for y? First, remember what we do since all our variables are in the numerator. So we know the first thing we need to do is to do this first, multiply this together, divide by 14, then add 10y. So the first thing that we need to do is to add 10y to both sides, right? So our formula would be x plus 10y is equivalent to negative y plus 20, y minus 20, y plus 20 equals 14. Now we multiply both sides of the equation by 14 to keep things simpler. So 14 times x plus 10y is equivalent to y plus 20 just like that, diba? So it just looks like this. And then the next thing that we need to do is to get y all by itself, what do? We factor, right? How do we factor the y's? But actually this could be a bit tough because there's a variable on one side. So we need to bring the variable 10 on the other side. So first, let's distribute all our 14x's. So 14x plus 140y, diba? Is equivalent to, diba, negative y times y is negative y squared. And then this becomes negative 20 times y, positive 20y. Negative 20y, 400. This guy cancels, and we're just left with, ano yun? 14x plus 140y negative y squared plus 400. Actually, you can bring the 140y to the other side of the equation to leave x all by itself. So we can have 14x is equivalent to y squared minus 140y plus 400. And now that's our answer, right? I think that's how we solve for the answer. Pero I think the equation might be too hard for you to solve. But the good news is we can still factor it. And then the next thing that, we can factor out one of the y's. If we factor out namin yung isang y, and therefore we're supposed to get y minus 140 plus 400. So therefore 14x minus 400 is equivalent to y minus 140. I don't think this may be the right answer because I know we have so many y's there. So I think it would be best if we stop up to there, and I'll try to ask a mathematician to help me with this problem. So sorry guys if I can't help you with this problem because I know this is a very tough one, and this implies a lot of multiplication and division, and I think there's no way that we can solve for the inverse. So let's just call it extraneous. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and if you like this video about inverse functions, please like the video. If you want to help me solve for the answer, please make a video about this and then comment down below for what the right answer is. Thanks for watching my math, and we'll see you next time. See you in our next lesson called exponential equations and logarithmic equations. Bye!